Hey, welcome to Witching Hour Tarot. I hope everyone's doing great for the long weekend. I had a great weekend myself. It's been very snowy up here in the Northeast. Like, I haven't seen snowbanks this high, since for a decade at least. And on that tangent, I do feel like we're in a really interesting time of cycles coming out for the past decade. So like 10-year cycles are finally coming to an end. Like, there are a couple things that I've done that I haven't done in like 10 years. Like, I just started to ski again. I went ice skating for the first time, I think, in like 20 years, So I just feel like there's these things that are recurring now that I haven't necessarily experienced for at least a decade. And I think that that's kind of the general gist of the shifting energy going on. Lately, I've been feeling a lot of tension in my body. I feel like there's a lot going on in the background with everyone, spiritually, physically, metaphysically, all that good stuff. So I just I like to do a tarot reading to kind of hone in on my weekend and get grounded, see what's going on in the collective. I hope everyone had a great time. Love, light, and blessings, and everyone's been able to stay warm this lovely long weekend here in the United States. But just kind of want to see what's going on. I do feel like there was a lot of tension in the air last week, but I feel like we're kind of getting over a hump. Like there's like I feel like a 10-year cycle just really resonates with me at this point. Maybe I'm just speaking gibberish. Who knows? Let's see what's going on. Let's see what's going on. King of Wands. Yeah, so this is we actually saw this, I think, in my last reading. So this is Aries, Leo, Sag, very passionate king. He's kind of like, your Prince Charming, like the ladies' man, like the guy who can get with any woman that he wants. He definitely has that kind of player-esque aspect to him. But with that, these are the passionate folks in the world. So the writers, the musicians, the artists, the poets, folks who are really good at expressing and emoting themselves as well in their passion. Nice to see that here. So maybe you're an Aries, Leo, Sag. Maybe you have a little lizard too. 5 of Wands. Yeah, so this card is all about conflict. The best, I think, metaphor for this card is the crabs in a bucket. So like you can put crabs in a bucket because when one tries to climb out, the others just pull it back down. So there's definitely a lot of conflict in the air, which is kind of what I've been feeling. Here with the King of Wands, there might be a decision-making person over this conflict, who's going to decide how it ultimately, do they just like come in and just like break it up? Like say this is like some sort of quarrel, like I'm picturing like a quarrel at like a school with like amongst teenagers, and then an authoritative figure like a teacher or a principal or whomever comes in and just like breaks the entire thing up. And then the conflict is over. So that might resonate with someone, maybe in the workplace too. Like, you're dealing with your boss and you're dealing with a bunch of your employees, and then you have to kind of like lead the situation. That's another thing about the King of Wands, is that they're really excellent leaders. They're really good at inspiring people to listen to them as well. Page of Swords. Yeah, so this is a scout. This is someone who I compared the Page of Swords and Knight of Swords a lot. So this is someone who scouts out the land before the army moves in. And then the Knight of Swords is someone who scouts out the land before they move into warfare. So this is like, someone who's maybe half a mile or a mile ahead of everyone, of the 10,000 troops, and trailing behind them just to make sure that everything's okay. And then the Knight of Swords comes in, and once they're all established and have the camp up and stuff like that, they go in and scout out even further for warfare and be tactical about where to attack and where to defend and that kind of stuff. So this could also be like online stalking, social media stalking, or stalking in real life. I hope not. I think that, you know, the best thing you can do when you have the urge to do something like that is focus on yourself, for sure. Yeah, so maybe someone's also been observing the conflict too, that's going on. Like someone's just kind of been watching things play out, and then ultimately they come up and like, hey, break it up, break it up. You know, that's how you get to know people too. There's a saying that like you don't really know someone until you divorce them, or till you break up, and I think that's probably very accurate in a lot of things, because how people respond in negative situations is really is more of an indicator of who they are than how they respond when everything's light and dreamy and fine. So maybe someone's just kind of observing, you know, the full capacity that someone might have. Page of Pentacles. Yeah, so this Page of Pentacles reminds me of Willy, what's his name? I don't even think it's Willy. It's Willy Wonka. And then who's the protagonist in Willy Wonka? I don't know, the little boy. I forgot his name exactly. But in the original in the 70s, it was so fun for me to watch with my family, because you would have the two sets of grandparents, four, you know, older folks in one bed, you know, with two towards the head and then two towards the foot of the bed. So this kind of resonates with me. And then he kind of, like, he's living in poverty, absolutely, in the United States, and receives a golden ticket and has a chance to see Willy Wonka in his chocolate factory. So this is very much Page of Pentacles energy, that kind of storyline, that kind of narrative. Maybe someone has presented an opportunity to you, and you're finally able to take it after scouting out for some time. The Hermit. So we've been seeing the Hermit tons. This is the card of my favorite metaphor that I think I made up on my own was licking your wounds behind closed doors. So being very introspective, there's spiritual enlightenment here. There's a different way of doing things being appreciated here. You see how he's also holding that lantern. He's very much guiding the way towards, you know, or seeing things for the first time in a different kind of light. I don't want to embarrass myself by singing the Black Crowes song that I absolutely adore. But I don't think it's necessarily relevant to the Hermit, but it's more so just spiritual enlightenment. This is a major theme that we've been seeing. So someone's also very wise, very, very wise here. There's a lot of wisdom, because we've seen the Hermit so much in all of my readings that I've done, you know, since I started on YouTube. And so someone's like, there's definitely someone scouting out a situation. They have authoritative power as well. They've been observing. Maybe they're going to give someone an offer too. The thing is too with conflict, and the King of Wands very much has this sort of attitude towards conflict, rather than avoiding conflict. Some people just handle conflict like straight on. And honestly, like I think that it's really hard to deal with conflict sometimes, because there's a lot of residual feelings that have to be processed prior to even like having a conversation or even knowing how you feel. People get so caught up in their day-to-day life where, you know, maybe they literally need like a few weeks to kind of think about how they actually feel. Like, and there's so much pressure on everyone to kind of just like resolve the issue as is. Like, there's a gap here somewhere. You know, someone took time out for sure. So what's clarifying the King of Wands? Yeah, so a lot of the readings on YouTube are like very, they're really, there's some really great tarot readers I found, but when they get like super, when the titles are like super like this versus that, or like you versus them, it's it's like kind of entrapment in a way. It's and the reality of tarot is that you really don't know what's going on behind closed doors or when you're not around. All you really have control over is your own reality to some degree. So tarot can sometimes introduce these ideas that aren't always accurate but are very, very toxic. So like if I were a different tarot reader, I could look at this and be like, oh my God, like you have a player here who's interested in, speaking with you or breaking up the conflict so they can speak with you and give you an offer, and like they've been stalking you. Like that's just a little too much for me to interpret it that way. They've thought about this for so long. And the thing is too, is that everything's fluid and flexible. With the King of Wands, like it might not just be, we tend to simplify everything so much that we really don't grasp with the complexity of certain characters. And I love comparing like the certain, like the Page of Pentacles to, I forgot his name, the child in Willy Wonka. That's a character. It's not just like a stagnant point in time like this picture kind of entails. Like there's a journey for that character, and just his energy in itself represents the Page of Pentacles. The King of Wands is like Leonardo DiCaprio. But like what's a good movie where he's like very King of Wands? The Great Gatsby is a good example, I think. Very King of Wands, but he's also very King of Cups too. Can be hot-tempered as well. Maybe someone has a little bit of a temper problem. But my point is that it's like if you get, it's more so what resonates with you. Like if I say something and it resonates with you and it reminds you of something that happened in your reality, then that is significant. Like that's what is resonating with you in tarot. But it could just be a feeling that it elicits. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be an event, like, or a person. It could just be a feeling that maybe was elicited from you at some point in time, or an awareness that you had. But there's wisdom here for sure. Yeah, and strength with that. I love horses. I think that the domestic animals that we're so lucky to have as humans, they're chickens, goats, horses, dogs, pigeons. Parrots are actually not considered domesticated. We haven't bred them for their traits. They're more, they breed on their own. So that's what makes an animal domesticated or not. You could be interested in domesticating animals, especially with the King of Wands here. Interested in breeding animals. But definitely very strong. Able to also have the intelligence and willpower and planning and everything to breed your own line of thoroughbreds or something like that. Metaphorically, metaphysically, spiritually, whatever it might be. Like there's definitely power here to do something like that. Create something. That's another thing, is the King of Wands is very creative. Very, very creative. Nine of Pentacles. So we've been seeing the Nine of Pentacles tons. She came up in the reading with one of my friends as well. This card is Virgo energy, so earth energy. It is the pre-Empress card. So like all your bills are paid, you have, money in your investment account, so you're eating well, drinking well, sleeping well, and being admired along the way. People are noticing you. Like the only thing that you don't have is that one last pentacle to bring you to 10, and that might be love in this particular situation. It could be a job, it could be anything, but you know, you're basically set. You have everything you could want. So with conflict too is like, I don't think it's necessarily like this conflict isn't about this Nine of Pentacles. This conflict is more so, teaching someone in their Nine of Pentacles energy how to deal with it, especially with strength. Like, how do you healthily deal with conflict? King of Wands here as well. And I think it's hard for a lot of people, especially if they're, you know, grew up in toxic environments or dysfunctional environments. To some degree, like every family structure is dysfunctional in terms of how people communicate, or everyone kind of has their own quirky ways of communicating. But conflict isn't necessarily a bad thing in relationships. Conflict can teach you a lot about yourself, the relationship, and the other person. You know, and there's growth points when there's conflict as well. The Devil. Yeah, so Capricorn energy. There's obsession. There's obsession here for sure. This is stalking energy 100% with the Devil and the Page of Swords. So like someone has maybe been stalking you, which is not good. You know, it's a thing is like it's a waste of your energy to try to figure out what someone else is doing, when in the meantime you can just ask them. Like, some people, because of their own dysfunctional ways of thinking, would rather stalk someone to find out what they need to know, ask around about them, yada yada, whatever, than just straight up ask the person directly. You know, I don't know if it's out of politeness or social courtesy, but a lot of people would operate in the energy of scoping things out rather than just deal with it directly. And maybe that's a smarter choice. I'm not sure. I never resonated with something like that. But yeah, obsession here, addiction issues, you know, ruminating. Seven of Swords. Yeah, so the Seven of Swords is all about deception and pulling the wool over someone's eyes. It is a card of trickery. Here at the Page of Pentacles, maybe someone was tricked into an offer of some sort, you know, or they tricked someone else. Or they thought it was a shiny thing. You know, there's deception here. Like, they thought it was something shiny and beautiful, and meanwhile, it's just, you know, it's just this. It looks shiny, but it's just tinfoil and shit. Definitely betrayal with the Devil too. Like, the 7 deadly sins: greed, lust, gluttony, rage. I think guile is one of them too. So if you've been betrayed by someone, you know, and then with good people too, like with good, honest, caring people, is they don't operate in this energy. And so these people are really able to deceive them, because like they do stuff that like the good whomever, these good Samaritans would never even think about. It would never even cross their mind that someone, to do something like deceptive, like, I don't know, like creating a fake social media profile to like look at someone's page, or it's more than that. It's like not even that superficial. It's like there's like someone like totally deceiving a situation, like, it's the pre-empress, and then you have someone in the background, informing whomever this person is actually the devil. Like, this person is actually, wants to take your money, wants to ruin your relationships, wants to isolate you, wants to abuse you, wants to, they have no money, they're homeless, they don't have anything going on for them, they're a loser, like, like that kind of language used. And then meanwhile, this person has everything that they could ever want, and that kind of stuff happens all the time. There's bullying too here with the Five of Wands. Someone just kind of watched the situation unfold, wanted to see what happened. Hold your horses. Someone definitely held their horses here. They didn't want to make a mistake, maybe. Ace of Pentacles. But there is, there are good things. This is one of the major themes that we have here. So there's an offer and this introspection and kind of the wisdom that's coming with observing these kind of fuck shit situations, like, like for the streets type situations, like, like this one selling drugs and then thinks that, and then tries to pin it on this one, and then this one is having sex with their husband who's having sex with your wife, it's just like, just fuck shit bullshit, and then someone innocent might have been grabbing a bucket, kind of analogy applied, tried to been torn down, and was torn down, and someone just kind of watched this happen. So who's responsible in these kinds of situations? The Hermit again. Yeah, so there's a lot of spiritual wisdom, a lot of enlightenment here. I love the stag portrayal as well, or this might even be a reindeer. Magical element, reindeers, like in comparison to Santa, like, they pull the Santa's sleigh, so there's definitely this kind of mystical, magical element here, but a lot of wisdom, a lot of introspection, someone definitely like holding back, being able to also use their strength to know when to make the decisive choice. But it takes a lot of strength to like not let your emotions get the best of you. The Lovers. Yeah, so I love this depiction of the Lovers. It did come up in one of my recent readings, and I think this is a Chinese, Vietnamese folktale, and I wish I knew. I have to look it up and read in the book specifically on it. But it reminds me a lot of King Kong and Anne, and just like they're from two totally different worlds, and they end up falling in love, even though there's have these huge differences. This is like the ultimate divine masculine and divine feminine, and however they complement each other, the yin and yang, the duality, all of that. So this is probably, conflict over a love situation, conflict over maybe the Nine of Pentacles, someone who's got it on, someone could be very jealous incredibly, incredibly jealous. You know, that's another thing with the devil and the Page of Swords is some people can't control their jealousy and they act out in ways that are totally unheard of, you know, like just and then they make their jealousy, they try to make your jealousy their problem. Like bullying is like ultimately one factor, you know, it's inadequacy or inferiority and acting out on it in a way to make people feel just as bad as you do, you know, just so you can feel better, you know, feel better about yourself. You know, this person feels like shit, therefore I don't have to feel like such shit, you know. And so, but the thing is, like with really jealous people, is that they do these really cutting kind of behind the scenes stuff. Like female sociopaths, for example, like, you know, they don't act out in ways where they're like, you know, killing people in the streets. They act out in ways where they try to ruin their reputation, you know, try to ruin someone's reputation, you know, get people to gang up against someone. You know, they're very relationally aggressive. And this is definitely over like a love situation and someone who is like, you know, pre-empress, like has everything going on, like the it factor, the it girl. Let's see what's clarifying the Page of Swords, the Devil. Yeah, the Magician. So maybe there's also been black magic here too. Like someone thinks that someone thinks that it's in their power to perform black magic. I personally, like, you know, I don't mess with black magic at all. This is like, tarot is the only kind of divination that I do. And I respect deities and sacred and things being sacred too much to try to curse things out or curse people out. And when someone's in this energy trying to, you know, it's like the Kanye West factor. Like, you know, they think they're God or whatever. They think they have the power to do that kind of stuff. And Kanye West is also bipolar, so there's definitely a degree of insanity as well. And that's the thing too, is like when the Magician is upside down, it's like someone going insane, you know, someone losing their mind. So someone's definitely kind of lost their mind here with the Devil, like, you know. But it's so disrespectful to yourself and then also the life forms around you to feel like you can, you know, curse people out like in any kind of way. And for spiritually protected people, you know, strength and Nine of Pentacles here, it's very difficult to harm them. Queen of Cups. So the Queen of Cups clarifying the Seven of Swords and Page of Pentacles. The Queen of Cups won in this situation. Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. Yeah, I think she saw this coming, the Queen of Cups. Very psychic energy too down here with the Queen of Cups, the Magician, the Lovers, the Hermit. Like incredibly psychic. Able to read situations without even like a magazine, like casually, you know, like you can just casually, like you can look at people and just like know what they're about. But then once in a while you meet those people who stay hidden behind closed doors and like to the outside world they seem like, you know, the ultimate perfect person, like the churchgoer, you know, they're the person that everyone adores, you know, has everything going on, but then like they also have a cocaine addiction, and because they have a cocaine addiction, all of their personal relationships are falling apart, and they're abusing their partners, and you know they're taking advantage of their friends, and you know, but on the outside they make it look like they're so perfect. And so this is kind of also an example of like, don't throw rocks. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. That's the thing, is with folks who live in this undercurrent, undermining, toxic, she said, he said kind of energy, is that they feel entitled to pass judgment on other people when they don't even have the self-awareness to reflect on themselves. And so when you throw stones, when you live in a glass house, and then someone comes by with a wrecking ball, you kind of get what you deserve. Three of Cups. So this is a card of celebration. There is celebration here. We've been seeing a theme of the Three of Cups as well. Celebration over an offer, maybe. Celebration over newfound spiritual introspection, perhaps. The celebratory is a good thing. For sure. Yeah, there's a lot to celebrate. Absolutely. I feel like after a while, a lot of the tarot readings, they kind of seem the same. And I like to provide real life examples to try to just like make it seem more accessible to people who might read it. But you know, I listen to my stories, but I just like, you know, I post one video a week and maybe it gets one view, and I'm fine with that. You know, this is more of like an outlet than anything else. Maybe I'll monetize it at some point and make ads and stuff like that. But with all that being said, is that someone took the time to let everything play out. And it's a 10-year cycle. We're kind of like at the climax, and it's all gonna just like be relievingly downhill from here. But there's definitely very toxic energy on the table. Black magic perhaps on the table, insanity perhaps on the table, with also that, like, you know, incredible love, you know, deep appreciative love, very passionate, very, very psychic. Protect your privacy. All right, that's what I got. Love, light, and blessings. Y'all have a great night.